It was a crisp autumn evening when three friends, Tom, Sarah, and Dave, arrived at the edge of Blackthorn Forest. They had heard whispers in town about the old hunter's lodge that lay deep within the woods, abandoned for decades. No one could quite explain why it had been left to rot, but locals always offered a chilling warning: don't stay there after dark. Naturally, Tom had taken that as a challenge. "It's just an old building," he'd said with a grin. "We'll check it out, have a laugh, and head back to camp." As they walked deeper into the forest, the path narrowed, the trees closed in, and the air grew colder. By the time they reached the lodge, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the decaying structure. The building looked worse than they'd imagined. Its roof sagged, the windows were broken, and the wood was grey and weathered from years of neglect. But what struck them most was the eerie stillness. No birds, no insects, just silence. Sarah hesitated at the entrance. "Maybe we should just leave. Something doesn't feel right." Tom scoffed. "Come on, we came all this way. Let's at least check inside." Reluctantly, Sarah and Dave followed him in. The door creaked loudly as they pushed it open, revealing a dimly lit interior filled with dust and old hunting trophies. Deer heads lined the walls, their glassy eyes seeming to watch the trio's every move. The air smelled of damp wood and decay. They explored the lodge, laughing nervously as they made their way through the empty rooms. But something was off. The floor creaked beneath their feet, and every now and then they heard faint sounds like whispers, though they couldn't tell where they were coming from. Eventually, they found themselves in the main hall, where a large stone fireplace stood, cold and dark. Tom crouched down, examining some old footprints in the dust. "Looks like someone's been here recently," he muttered. Dave frowned. "But this place has been abandoned for years, right? Who would come out here?" Before Tom could answer, a loud thud echoed from upstairs. The three of them froze. "What was that?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. Tom swallowed hard, trying to keep his bravado intact. "Probably just the wind. Old houses make weird noises." But then they heard it again, louder this time. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, pacing slowly across the floor above them. "Tom, we need to go," Sarah insisted, backing toward the door. Tom nodded, finally shaken. "Yeah, let's get out of here." They turned and hurried toward the exit, but as they reached the door, it slammed shut with a deafening bang. Sarah screamed, and Dave rushed to pull it open, but it wouldn't budge. "Help me," Dave yelled, but no matter how hard they pulled, the door wouldn't move. The footsteps upstairs grew louder, moving toward the staircase. Each step was slow, methodical, and heavy, as though whatever was upstairs knew they had no way out. "Upstairs," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Someone's coming." Tom's face went pale. "There's no one here," he whispered, though it was clear he no longer believed his own words. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped. The silence was suffocating, the air thick with dread. They stood there, trembling, too scared to move, too terrified to breathe. Then, without warning, the sound of something dragging, slow and deliberate, echoed through the hall. It was coming down the stairs. Dave's eyes were wide with terror. "We need to hide." They scrambled into the nearest room, slamming the door behind them. The dragging sound grew louder, closer. Sarah whimpered, her hands covering her mouth as they pressed themselves against the wall, hearts racing. Through a crack in the door, they could see the staircase. Slowly, something appeared in their view. A figure, hunched and twisted, dragging something behind it. The creature's skin was stretched tight, as if it barely fit over its frame, And its face looked like it had been stitched together from pieces of other people. The creature stopped at the bottom of the stairs, sniffing the air as if sensing their presence. Then slowly, it turned its head toward the room they were hiding in. Tom's breath caught in his throat. "It knows," he whispered. The creature began to move toward the door, its steps slow but deliberate, dragging the object behind it. The smell of rotting flesh filled the air, seeping through the cracks in the door. As it reached the door, its bony hand reached for the knob, turning it slowly. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the door slammed open. The creature was gone, and the lodge was silent once more. Without a word, the three of them bolted from the lodge, running through the forest without looking back. They didn't stop until they were back at their camp, their hearts pounding in their chests. No one spoke for a long time, until finally, Tom broke the silence. "We're never coming back here," and no one argued.